Tomoya Aki, Megumi Kato, Ariri Spencer Sawamura, Yutaha Kasumigoka, and Tomoya's cousin Mikuru Hyoto are all part of a group called Blessing Software. They are looking for places to use in their video game project. Ariri asks Megumi to act as the main character, but Yutaha takes Tomoya away to act out a romantic scene. Ariri gets jealous and interrupts them. Michiru takes Tomoya to a lake to play in the water, but they end up in a strange situation and Megumi interrupts them. Later, they play ping pong at their place. The next night, Ariri, Yutaha, and Michiru confront Tomoya and ask why he made them join the group and do difficult things without getting anything back. Megumi comes to his rescue and talks with him about how she doesn't want to stand out in the group. They both hope that their game will be liked by the otaku community. 6 months before their location scouting trip, Tomoya meets Megumi when he finds her lost Barrett. This inspires him to start making a video game with her as the main character. A week later, he talks to his friend Yoshiko, who likes a girl named Ariri from the art club. Since Tomoya can't draw Megumi exactly as he wants, he asks Ariri for help, but she turns him down, thinking he's not serious about it. At lunchtime, Tomoya asks Yutaha for help because she's a famous writer, but she also says no, thinking his idea isn't unique. After school, Tomoya improves his plan and schedules a meeting with Ariri and Yutaha in the AV room. On his way there, he meets Megumi again, but he doesn't recognize her until she mentions the Barrett. Ariri and Yutaha meet at the AV room and start arguing, but Tomoya doesn't show up, leaving them frustrated. Ariri and Yutaha finally agree to help Tomoya with his video game idea. Later, Tomoya has dinner with Megumi at a coffee shop. He realizes that even though she's cute, she doesn't stand out much. When they talk about how they first met, Megumi calls herself boring. At first, Tomoya gets mad, but then he sees she's right because she doesn't have any special qualities. Ariri and Yutaha join them at the coffee shop and check out Tomoya's improved plan. They still don't like it and suggest he gives up on the project, but he doesn't want to. The next day, he invites Megumi to his house and makes her play a dating sim game to understand it better. Megumi enjoys the game, but she still doesn't get why people like it. Tomoya asks her to stay the night and play the game's sequel, and to his surprise, she agrees. By the time Megumi finishes playing, it's morning, and she's a bit tired. In her sleepy state, she agrees to join Tomoya's group. Ariri and Yutaha keep rejecting Tomoya's new ideas for the project. He's running out of time, and there's a deadline coming up at the end of Golden Week. Tomoya wants to invite Megumi over to help, but she's on a family vacation until the end of Golden Week. Ariri and Yutaha separately visit Tomoya's house. Ariri tries to motivate him, while Yutaha suggests he should give up because being a creator is tough. Later, he calls Megumi, and she tells him to enjoy her vacation. Megumi then asks why she's appealing to him, and he says there's no need for improvement. Tomoya struggles to make progress on his project and thinks about giving up. Suddenly, Megumi shows up, dressed like when they first met and acting differently. She asks if this is what he wanted for his heroine. Tomoya is surprised by her change, and she tells him that Ariri and Yutaha helped her change. She encourages him to keep going with the project. Ariri and Yutaha watch this happen and decide to stay involved in the project, even if Tomoya can't finish it by the deadline. Megumi really likes a light novel series written by Yutaha. Tomoya wants to learn about Yutaha's new book before everyone else, so he interviews for a part-time editor job with her, even though she's not happy about it. It's revealed that Tomoya's blog made Yutaha's series popular. He spends a lot of time writing an interview article, and then Yutaha surprises him by offering to help with his project proposal. Later, Ariri decides to join the project too. They have a meeting in the AV room, and Tomoya sets the release date for the Winter Comiket. But to make the project happen, Tomoya has to work many odd jobs. While working one of these jobs, he sees Megumi with another boy. He gets upset, but it turns out the boy is just Megumi's cousin, Kiichi. Tomoya scolds her for not sticking to the heroine formula and tells her not to see Kiichi for a while. Megumi tells him she plans to go shopping with Kiichi, so Tomoya asks her out, and she says yes. The group starts working on their project, but Ariri has trouble making Megumi show strong emotions for her sketches. Megumi goes to practice her expressions, and Tomoya and Ariri discuss how Megumi's lack of emotions is a challenge for the game. Tomoya then asks Ariri for dating advice because he's going shopping with Megumi the next weekend. At first she gives him advice, but then she gets angry when she realizes his intentions. Yutaha hears their conversation and gets inspired to write the game's story. The next day, she finishes it, and although Tomoya is impressed, he asks for a better ending, which upsets Ariri because she wants to finish the project quickly. Tomoya and Megumi go shopping at the mall, and Tomoya feels uncomfortable around what he thinks are regular people. At the last store, he realizes that Megumi is buying glasses for him as a way of saying thanks for going shopping with her. In a flashback, Yutaha first meets Tomoya during a book signing. She's impressed by his knowledge of her books and starts to like him. In the present, Tomoya misses their planned meeting, and this upsets Yutaha. She remembers a time 6 months ago when she gave him an early copy of her manuscript. But he refused because she just wanted his feedback, not from other fans. Later, when a rainstorm is coming, Tomoya runs up to Yutaha in the rain. She lets him take a hot bath in a hotel room, and then she realizes her manager got the room for both of them for the night. After she takes a shower, Yutaha talks to Tomoya, and he asks her for help with the game's plot. At first, she's upset, but she changes her mind when he suggests keeping both storylines as game routes. They work on the plot all night, and Yutaha leaves the room, but not before recognizing Tomoya as a creator. The day before, Megumi and Ariri meet at the mall after Tomoya leaves to let Ariri draw a quick sketch. Ariri is happy with her drawing, but she accidentally upsets Megumi by reminding her that Tomoya left their date abruptly to chase after Yutaha. The deadline for their Doujin Circles project is getting close, so Ariri invites Tomoya to her house. There they come up with a creative idea and do a role play to help with her work. Thanks to their efforts, Ariri's work is almost finished. At the school gate, Tomoya notices Megumi has changed her hairstyle and asks her about it. He also meets Izumi, a childhood friend, otaku, and a member of the Doujin Circle Fancy Wave. Tomoya and Izumi remember old times, and she gives him a ticket to the Comiket and asks him to visit her Doujin Circle. She says everything she has now is because of him. On their way home, Tomoya and Ariri meet their old friend Aori, who leads the Doujin Circle Rouge on Rouge. Aori needs an illustrator, so he challenges Tomoya to prove who's the best person to use Ariri as their group's illustrator. In Tomoya's room, Ariri is busy writing a manuscript, and Tomoya and Ariri argue about some small things related to the deadline for it. Afterward, Tomoya and Megumi play video games, and Tomoya praises Megumi, saying she's become a great otaku. He asks if Ariri will join the Rouge on Rouge group, but she decides to be his illustrator. On the day of the summer Comiket, Megumi is surprised by the big crowd, but she follows Tomoya to Izumi's Doujin Circle. They help out with Izumi's circle activities. When Izumi talks about the Comiket, Tomoya is impressed with her work quality, even though she only started a year ago. Tomoya comes up with a plan and starts putting it into action. Thanks to Tomoya's help, Izumi's circle does well and gets a lot of sales, which makes Izumi happy. After the Comiket ends, Tomoya meets Ariri, who has a book from Izumi's circle. Ariri, with tears in her eyes, tells Tomoya that she feels he doesn't love her anymore and then runs away. Tomoya wakes up in his bed and sees Yutaha sleeping next to him. Megumi invited her to his house. The three of them talk about why Ariri got upset. Yutaha says Ariri lost her pride as a creator and also her place as Tomoya's childhood friend. She gives Tomoya advice on how to make things right with Ariri. Later, Tomoya goes to the Comiket and meets Iori. He asks Iori for help in getting Ariri back into his circle. At night, under the dark sky with fireworks, Tomoya goes to Ariri's house and follows Yutaha's plan. He calls out to her and takes her to their old elementary school. Ariri starts crying and says she feels less important to Tomoya than Izumi, who he became friends with recently. Tomoya tells Ariri that he blamed her for losing contact and making new friends. After that, she promises to be Tomoya's number one, and he carries her back home on his back. In Tomoya's room, Ariri creates a new circle cut and shares it with the circle's members. Tomoya, Ariri, Yutaha, and Megumi have a video conference to discuss making a game. After that, Tomoya goes to take a bath. On his way, he accidentally bumps into a girl who turns out to be his cousin Michiru. She ran away from home after a fight with her dad about being in a band. At school, Michiru contacts Tomoya, and Yutaha starts asking him lots of questions about his relationship with Michiru. When Tomoya gets home, he finds his otaku stuff thrown away by Michiru. He talks to her about it, but she tells him to stop acting like an otaku and think about his future. After they talk about her band and his otaku interests, Tomoya gets in the bath. While he's in there, he hears Michiru playing music that moves him and reminds him of a scene from a game. Afterward, he decides to introduce Michiru to his game group. Tomoya introduces Michiru to the girls and suggests she could do the background music for their game. But Michiru doesn't like anything related to otaku. Yutaha and Michiru argue about their different views, and Ariri is upset because Michiru seems to have taken her place as Tomoya's childhood friend. Tomoya keeps trying to convince Michiru, but she wants to focus on her band and find a manager for it to make her dad happy. Michiru asks Tomoya to be her band manager and hopes it will make him stop being an otaku. She also says the other girls aren't as passionate about making games as he is. Meanwhile, Megumi helps Ariri and Yutaha catch up on their game work because they're a week behind schedule. Megumi later shows Tomoya the changes she made, and she teases him about his relationship with Michiru in response to his overreaction about her cousin Kiichi. They both agree that Michiru's music can make the game better. Tomoya agrees to be Michiru's band manager and sets up their first live show. Tomoya tells Michiru's band, Icy Tail, that they're doing their first show as a warm-up for other bands because they don't have many fans yet. Yutaha and Ariri go with Megumi to support Michiru's band, even though they're upset that Tomoya became the band manager without asking them first. When they arrive, they see Michiru and Tomoya in a questionable position while she asks him about the band's outfits. Tomoya explains that Icy Tail has been playing covers of anime songs, and it turns out the other band members are actually otakus. He convinces Michiru to join his circle, and her band members agree. Icy Tail's debut goes well, and Michiru performs her own original song at the end. Meanwhile, Ariri and Megumi become close friends, and Yutaha finishes writing the first part of the game's story. Tomoya and the girls look at the completed first part in his room, and they keep working on the other parts with 2 months left until the winter Comiket.